إيمانا ولا يرتاب الذين أوتوا الكتاب والمؤمنون وليقول الذين في قلوبهم مرض والكافرون ماذا أراد الله بهذا مثلا كذلك يضل الله من
I'm Yusuf Estes with really good news. It's about Islam, but they are not getting the right message. So the best time to get the right message out is right now. And we have the best way to do exactly that with the laws of... Yeah, and you can order that on our website, afreequran.com. We paid the shipping, we paid for the book, and everybody can read and enjoy the translation of the Quran. Yeah. And by the way, it's 2 columns on every page, which means it's easier to read because you don't get lost when you come back to the next line. Anyway, if anyone would like to join us as Dawah partners, dawahpartners.com, and then you can donate for each and every one of these that we give out. By the way, we have an offer right now of 10,000 of these for only $1. So every dollar you can donate, do it, and then you'll get the rewards of all the people who enjoy the Qurans that we send out. So if you can do 50, that will be $50, 50 Qurans. 100, imagine putting the Quran's translation into 100 different homes and 100 different people coming to Islam. Maybe it's up to Allah. But this is our offer, and get busy. Do it now. dawahpartners.com. The Quran in English translation. Yeah. And you can order that on our website, afreequran.com. We paid the shipping, we paid for the book, and everybody can read and enjoy the translation of the Quran. Yeah. And by the way, it's 2 columns on every page, which means it's easier to read because you don't get lost when you come back to the next line. Anyway, if anyone would like to join us as Dawah partners, dawahpartners.com, and then you can donate for each and every one of these that we give out. By the way, we have an offer right now of 10,000 of these for only $1. So every dollar you can donate, do it, and then you'll get the rewards of all the people who enjoy the Qurans that we send out. So if you can do 50, that will be $50, 50 Qurans. 100, imagine putting the Quran's translation into 100 different homes and 100 different people coming to Islam. Maybe it's up to Allah. But this is our offer, and get busy. Do it now. dawahpartners.com. The Quran in English translation.
Studios in Southern California. Very excited tonight to bring you some really in-depth information and discussions regarding the what we discussed last night. And we are very delighted to have with us the one and only Sheikh Yusuf Esta. Assalamu alaikum.
Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. هو الذي جعلنا مسلمين. والصلاة والسلام على Rasul al-Kareem. Yes, we do have a very interesting program tonight because it's going to be dealing with a lot of the information talking about artificial intelligence. Doctor, present what you got.
Sure. Thank you so much. We discussed last night just some introduction, and from which the basics of the message was no AI will be able to replicate the Quran. No AI would be able to exceed or even come close what the Quran have developed 1,500 years ago. And tonight we're going through basically the evidence, again from the best book, the Book of Allah, and the words of Allah, that tell us exactly how we should conduct ourselves if we are confronted with this test, because this it looks like, after all, it's a test where people sometimes are either distracted or overwhelmed or misinformed or misguided by these new technologies. And I'm sure seen back in March early this year, there's been a new app that's been released called Tartil, and they claim that will help you to memorize the Quran. Actually, the best way to read, to recite, and to be able to test yourself when it comes to the memorization and the correct spelling and pronunciation is called tajweed of the Quran is one-on-one, exactly like Angel Jibril did with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That is the only way. There is no other way, and will continue to pass on as it did for the last 1,500 years ago to the end of time, to the day of judgment. So there is an essential question: how the human being, intelligence, the human being, is different from the artificial intelligence, and how the artificial intelligence will never come even close to what the human being or human intelligence is, because when it comes to human being, it's Allah's creation. So, and there are so many ayat that we will discuss. First, the dignification, how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala dignified the son of Adam. That's a human being. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said this, and we will mention a few evidence of the Quran ayah, وَلَقَدْ كُرَّمْنَا بَنِي آدَمَ وَحَمَلْنَاهُمْ فِي الْبَرِّ وَالْبَحْرِ, and saying in the Arabic, the text, and we have carried the son of Adam in land and in the sea, وَرَزَقْنَاهُمْ مِنَ الطَّيِّبَاتِ, we have given them a lot of bounties, وَفَضَّلْنَاهُمْ عَلَى كَثِيرٍ مِمَّا خَلَقْنَا تَفْضِيلًا, and we have differentiated them. We have honored the Bani Adam, or the son of Adam, or the human being, above and beyond so many of Allah's creations. So there is definitely, Allah is specifically mentioned that the creation of a human being is far advanced and complicated and far superior to any other creations of animals, plants, or any other creation that we know and we don't know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created, that God Almighty created. And then not only that, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah Al-Tin specifically said, وَلَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ فِي أَحْسَنِ تَقْوِيمٍ, and we have perfected the creation of the human being in the best shape possible, in the best proportion possible, in the best image possible, and how the hand proportion to the head, to the face, to the
We already
eyes.
have a question.
Okay, go ahead.
You mentioned that we. Why is God saying we if there's not three gods there?
Actually, it's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's a majesty, it reflects the majesty of the creator, that because he's the creator of heaven and earth. Some kings use the same analogy when they say we are the kings, or we are masters, or we are the, whatever title that they want to use. But title is exclusive to Allah, that He can address that in a plural sense to reflect His majesty and to reflect His immense power. That's just a way of expressing, and that's exclusive to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so we mentioned two things so far, that the creation of a human being is above and beyond all the creation of other creatures that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have made and created. Number one. Number two, is perfected in the best shape possible. وَلَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ فِي أَحْسَنِ تَقْوِيمٍ. And then we have a third important element, and that's really the clincher here to tell everybody. وَإِذْ قَالَ رَبُّكَ لِلْمَلَائِكَةِ إِنِّي خَالِقٌ بَشَرًا مِنْ صَلْصَالٍ مِنْ حَمَإٍ مَسْنُونٍ. So Allah said to His angels, I'm going to create a human being out of the hot clay. فَإِذَا سَوَّيْتُهُ. When I created this human being, وَنَفَخْتُ فِيهِ مِنْ رُوحِي. That is the difference. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blows His soul into the human being, فَقَعُوا لَهُ سَجِدًا. That puts the human being in a very high, superior, and honorable status, because now they have the ruh of Allah. They have that has been blown into them. The ruh is the soul of God, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have done this. So it is not a robot. It is not just parts that are put together, assembled in an assembly factory, and this is a human being. Even if it's perfected like that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala perfected it, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have blown the soul into it, His soul into it. And that makes a huge difference. That will not be the same like putting a couple of robots together and training them by certain algorithms to imitate or copy the human being. Not only that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, God Almighty, have made it exclusive to the human being to have a very specific and very advanced brain system. The brain system had to do with intellectual capacity, with the ability to extract data, analyze data, and put data together. And most of them are found in the frontal lobe of the brain. The frontal lobe of the brain, if everybody looks at the first front part of the head, when everybody looks and put the head on the ground, that is the nasiya. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he made dua, though, ask Allah to guide his nasiya. And our nawasi, or our foreheads, meaning the frontal lobe of the brain that has all the intellectual capacities, the right or wrong, the decision making, the analytical power, calculation, all the things have to do with the human power, intelligence, and this is the highest function that a human being can have when it comes to that. So Allah perfected both the physical creations and the spiritual creations when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have blown into the soul of the son of Adam, and then because of that, all the angels have bowed to Bani Adam, exactly as the Quran said. Not only that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala teaches in the Quran, and that's really beautiful. So when hopefully this is all said and done, everybody will just close the page on any kind of argument, because it's all settled in the Quran 1500 years ago. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in Surah Ar-Rahman, خَلَقَ الْإِنسَانَ عَلَّمَهُ الْبَيَانِ. So Allah created a human being and then taught him the bayan, or the Quran. And that's a privilege and a blessing that we are discussing now, the words of Allah through the Quran, and passing on to all humanity, those who are listening, watching, and really wanted to know what is the Quran says about our AI. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, God Almighty, said, وَمِنْ آيَاتِهِ. So this is the signs of creation, of خَلْقُ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ, that He created the heaven and earth. وَاخْتِلَافِ أَلْسِنَتِكُمْ, and the different tongues, وَأَلْوَانِكُمْ, and colors. We have white, black, brown, yellow. We have over 100 languages that are spoken in the world. All these are signs of what? Ayat lil-alamin. So these are signs of Allah's majesty and ability and power to create different colors, different languages, different shapes, but it all come to what? Bani Adam, the son of Adam. Not only that, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah Al-Baqarah, وَعَلَّمَ آدَمَ الْأَسْمَاءَ كُلَّهَا. When we get our knowledge, it's come from Allah, strictly come from Allah, all exclusively come from Allah. Because Allah have taught our father Adam all the knowledge of all the sciences. وَعَلَّمَ الْآدَمَ أَسْمَاءَ كُلَّهَا. Since the creation of the human being and Adam, Allah have taught him all the names and all the sciences of different intellectual capacities and knowledge. So because of that, Adam knows all the knowledge and he passed on to us. And how is that education? عَلَّمَ آدَمَ أَسْمَاءَ كُلَّهَا. Allah have taught Adam all the names. And Allah has given us in another Surah Al-Alaq, how is the medium or how is the ability to teach. وَعَلَّمَ بِالْقَلَمِ. Allah taught us with the pen. So everybody when write down a lecture or an article or a piece of information, it is taught by the pen. عَلَّمَ الْإِنسَانَ مَا لَمْ يَعْلَمْ. Allah, only Allah Almighty, taught the human being what he did not. So if we go back to the origin of the creation, that Allah perfected the creation, Allah put His soul into the human being. Allah have dignified the human being creation on all other creatures, and then reminding us that the creation of the almost after the heaven and earth is a creation of a human being and the different tongues and the different shapes. So this is a big deal that we should be all looking at. When you look at the sky tonight with the super moon, if anybody is interested, because we have those 3 days in the middle of the lunar month, and it's beautiful full moon, and it's larger than usual by 14%. That's called a phenomenon called super moon night, tonight and tomorrow night, inshallah. And then the knowledge comes from Allah directly through this verse, وَعَلَّمَ آدَمَ الْأَسْمَاءَ كُلَّهَا. All the sciences, all sorts of knowledge come and taught to our father Adam by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us how the education was passed. The education was passed, عَلَّمَ الْإِنسَانَ بِالْقَلَمِ, taught with the pen. عَلَّمَ الْإِنسَانَ مَا لَمْ يَعْلَمْ. You know, the human being have been taught all things that never knew about. So no one can credit themselves, oh, I'm smart, I discovered this, or I found about this, or I invented this. It's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created everything, but maybe somebody through their efforts or pure luck that they actually ran into something and then became a discovery. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have invented and created everything that we have on this earth. But don't be arrogant, the human being, don't be arrogant. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah Al-Hajj is warning those who in the Quran, وَالَّذِينَ تَدْعُونَ مِن دُونِ اللَّهِ لَنْ يَخْلُقُوا ذُبَابًا وَلَوْ اجْتَمَعُوا لَهُ. And if somebody wants to worship other than Allah, they will not be able to create flies, even if they put all their powers together. Not only that, but وَإِنْ يَسْلُبُهُمُ الذُّبَابُ شَيْئًا لَا يَسْتَنْقِذُوهُ مِنْهُ ضَعْفَ الطَّالِبُ وَالْمَطْلُوبُ. And if a fly comes and take something from their plate or food that they're eating, they will not be able to get it back from the very weak fly. They can try and try and try. See, Allah put this to put things to to bring humility to folks that are arrogant, because they're now weaker than the fly. That the fly can rob them out of food or whatever they're eating or drinking, and they will never be able to get it back. And if they put all their powers together to try to create something as small and as frail as a fly, they will not be able to do that. We discussed last night that they even try to mimic the Quran by having a one ayah. Not the Quran have 30 chapters and 628 pages that got thousands and thousands of ayahs. But Allah is challenging. You guys want to challenge Allah, God Almighty, and then go ahead, try to make a one ayah up one ayah. It will never come, even with those who are very eloquent.
Yeah, we do have something that we can put up there to demonstrate exactly what you're talking about.
Sure.
And I think that this might be a good chance to do that.
Go ahead.
First of all, there is something called the AI, and then the I think the best way to explain it is there is something called Chat GPT, and if you sign up for that, and that's a good idea to get a lot of information. But however, if you would like to test it out and see exactly what the combination of all the people on the planet coming together and trying to assemble something that will match something like the Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they can't do it. And here's our proof. This is from something that I've put together today. It's rough, but I think you can see it. It says, this is from AI. It said, I'm always here to chat. If you have any more questions or if there's a specific topic you'd like to discuss, feel free to let me know. I'm here to provide information and engage in friendly conversation. All right. So my question is, can you write a verse equal to the eloquence of the Quran? And look at the response that I got. It said, hello. Well, I can generate text. It is important to note. And wait a minute. I knew that was going to happen. Anyway, it says it is important to note the eloquence of Quran is widely regarded as unparalleled. The Quran is considered a masterpiece of Arabic literature and is highly revered by Muslims around the world. Its poetic style, linguistic beauty, and profound messages make it unique and extraordinary work. While I can attempt to generate a verse, it would be unfair to compare it to the eloquence of the Quran. Yeah, I think that says it all, and it's coming straight from the source. Go ahead, Doctor.
Okay, well, it's very, very important to add what you just said, Jazakallah khair. Thank you so much, because we're trying to get to the very clear, strong message that the Quran cannot be replicated, cannot be mimicked, and cannot be manipulated in the way that somebody can come and add or delete or even one letter or one pronunciation movement on the letter, what's called tashkil. That will change the entire meaning, and that will ruin the entire meaning, and that will be a cause of confusion. So it's a very, very important. And said, oops, it's a machine error. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala remind us, that the only way that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala Allah God Almighty, do not be arrogant with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah is questioning, Ya ayyuhal insan, oh you human being, ma gharraka bi rabbikal kareem. What happened to you? What in Surah Al-Infitar? That this is a question to the human being. What is wrong with you that you deny Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that you are not following the commandments of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? After Allah perfected the creation, have blown the ruh into the human being, taught him ya asma'u kullaha allama, taught him all the sciences, and help him to guide him through the perfect creation of the frontal lobe of the brain that will make, because that's really when somebody goes to Alzheimer, that is the most sensitive part of the brain that goes bad. And then, people cannot sign a check. They cannot, do a math. The account and the checkbook will go haywire. And of course, they can make really a very wrong decision that can ruin them and their families and so on, and they don't even know it because they're going through Alzheimer because that frontal lobe of the brain has gotten bad. And remember, the ruh, or the soul, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blows into the son of Adam, or Bani Adam, is exclusive to Allah. And we know that our knowledge is limited, and the ultimate knowledge is exclusive with Allah, the Creator. And this is just to make sure that everybody knows their limits and don't exceed that. Even with the smart human being and with the educated human being and so on, and let alone the artificial intelligence. وَيَسْأَلُونَكَ عَنِ الرُّوحِ. This is in Surah Al-Isra. They ask you about the ruh, the soul. قُلْ, as Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said when people are asking about the ruh, قُلُ الرُّوحُ مِنْ أَمْرِ رَبِّي. It's exclusive business of Allah, the Creator. وَمَا أُوتِيتُ مِنَ الْعِلْمِ إِلَّا قَلِيلًا. And you have only been giving very little of the knowledge. Can you imagine what's the ultimate knowledge, or more knowledge than that way we have? Some people will be grateful in the knowledge that they have, so they share it with others, they make it available, and they don't make it as a side business that they charge people for knowledge or for advice, especially if they know something. Some people, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned in the Quran, those who know what the truth is, and then yaktubun al-haq, they will suppress the truth, although they know it, but they want to make money out of it, basically, and they commercialize that. Unfortunately, that is not good, and Allah made it clear that we should not be going in that route.
Okay, we have to take a break right now, but we'll be right back. And when we come back, we'll compare and think, what does it say about the Bible? Now, the Bible, we know already that it is not the same as it was when it was revealed to the prophets, but it's interesting to note what it says about the Bible. So let's take a chance to do our promos here, and you can see how you can help us get the Quran out to 10,000 people right now. The Quran in English translation, yeah. And you can order that on our website, afreequran.com. We paid the shipping, we paid for the book, and everybody can read and enjoy the translation of the Quran. Yeah. And by the way, it's 2 columns on every page, which means it's easier to read because you don't get lost when you come back to the next line. Anyway, if anyone would like to join us as Dawah Partners, dawahpartners.com, and then you can donate for each and every one of these that we give out. By the way, we have an offer right now of 10,000 of these for only $1. So every $1 you can donate, do it, and then you'll get the rewards of all the people who enjoy the Qurans that we send out. So if you can do 50, that will be $50, 50 Qurans. 100, imagine putting the Quran's translation into 100 different homes and 100 different people coming to Islam. Maybe. It's up to Allah. But this is our offer, and get busy. Do it now. dawahpartners.com. The Quran. And we are live, coming to you right from our studios here in Southern California. We would like to show you something right now, and the same exact organization that produced the Chat GPT, we ask it about the Quran in the first part of our program. And so if you just tuned in, I would like to mention it. It said that it can generate text but it's important to note the eloquence of the Quran is widely regarded as unparalleled. Quran is considered a masterpiece of Arabic language, highly revered by Muslims around the world. Poetic style, linguistic beauty, profound messages make it unique and extraordinary work. Well, it can attempt to generate a verse. It will be unfair to compare it to the eloquence of the Quran. All right? So, what does it say about the Bible? And this is what I found so interesting today. Let's see if we can put it on there. Yes. So what I did, I typed in, make a verse like the first verse of the New Testament, Matthew 1:1. Now, if you're familiar with the Bible, you know that it said these are the generations of Jesus the Christ. And then it goes through, starting with Abraham and going all the way to David, and then going down to the exile, the Babylonian exile, and then going to Jesus himself. And it lists all of Jesus' fathers. All of them. Okay? And this is a definite proof against the idea that Jesus is the miracle birth. However, in the Quran, we know that Jesus had a miracle birth. So this was obviously somebody that, anyway. So the first verse, and I got off on that tangent. The first verse is, these are the generations of Jesus the Christ. So that's what I asked him to do, and this is what it came up with. Okay, so oh, here it is. It said, hi. Here's a verse similar to the first verse of the New Testament. And then I want you to be able to see all of it. Matthew 1:1. It says, in the beginning there was a great light that shone upon the world, illuminating the path of all who sought truth and salvation. I would like to share with you a comment that may support the Christians a bit, because this is nothing like the first verse of the Bible, of the New Testament in the Bible. Nothing like it. There's not I don't think there's even a single word that can be compared. So, I don't know. Doctor, what do you think about this?
Mashallah, your authority on the Bible, because all your previous experience, I cannot really.
Well, we're just talking about the comparison of the style of what it attempted to do. I think it failed.
Yes,
it didn't
absolutely.
come back.
That's the whole purpose of our discussion, to prove its absolute failure when it comes to Quran, when it comes to mimicking the Quran, when it comes to trying to manipulate things that look like Quran, or to have any use, because it's only going to lead to distraction and misguidance. That's the punchline here, because no one can come close to Allah's creation.
Yeah, very good. I think also there is something about, we should keep in mind that all of this artificial intelligence is a product of people who are giving their thoughts into the sea of knowledge here. And some of it could be wrong, some of it could be right, some of it could be exactly perfect, but it's always going to depend on the human capabilities of analyzing and putting down their thoughts into this. Regardless of what it comes up with, it's still a collective of people's opinions. Is that right?
Very, very much so. And Jazakallah khair, that's beautiful. And we have to really warn people, as most of the people who actually developed AI, they're now warning the world about the coming to an end because of the potential misuse and abuse of AI and so many things. And this is another warning to let people know about it so that they don't get into the misconception and misguidance, and then that they will be deviated from the straight path that we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala at every prayer to keep us on. So I would caution each and every one. Let's not get into that. There's very simple apps like iQuran and so on that I use a lot to help the reading and the translation, and basically they have been checked for their authenticity, and they have many Qurra, or people who are reciters of the Quran, that they can use and basically have a nice training session. And that's what we tell for everybody who's not Arabic speaking or a new Muslim or so on, that they would like to learn. That will be a good, valuable way. But to play with somebody's mind, to challenge the creator, to try to mimic the Quran and all this is bound to nothing but failure, big time failure. And let's not test it because it's already been decided 1,500 years ago. Let's not even come close to that because it'll be like wasted energy, and it will open a lot of doors for suspicion and things that are not going to be of a value or a benefit to anyone who's involved in this, because it's a human. It's made by human beings to have robots copy humans. That's not going to happen either. So if we can, look at it from so many aspects, especially when it comes to the Quran and the text and the words of Allah, we have to be absolutely very, very careful and stay away from the areas that could potentially harm us spiritually and harm us even physically beyond that.
I think you're absolutely right, and I think this is a good chance for us to think about what Allah says in the Quran. One of the things that we find in the Quran, in chapter, I've got to open up something here so we could do it, but let's go to our website, recitequran.com, and just check it out. This is, I think, one of the best ways to do it. All right. Surah Al-Isra, and I'm going to move it over so you can see it a little bit better. Verse 88 is telling you, say. Well, I'll let you listen to it. Here it is.
قل لئن اجتمعت الإنس والجن على أن يأتوا بمثل هذا القرآن لا يأتون بمثله ولو كان بعضهم لبعض ظهيرا.
Say, if mankind and the jinn gathered in order to produce the like of this Quran, they could not produce the like of it, even if they were to each other assistants.
MashaAllah. I think that says it all right there. If you want to produce it, you will not be able to do it. Doctor, I'd like for you to weigh in on that.
Sure. Ironically, while you're playing this verse, I was reading the translation, exactly the same thing, 88th verse of the 17th chapter of Isra. And saying even AI-powered attempts will fall short. Say Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, if all the powers of human and jinn all combine together to make anything, produce equivalent of this Quran, they will never be able to produce anything equivalent or even close to it. So the argument has been settled this 1500 years ago in the words of Allah in the Quran. So no one should waste any time or energy to like reinvent the wheel or try to find one way or deficiency here and there, because this is the words of Allah. This is the perfect words of the Creator, and we should really follow them to the letter, and we should do the exact way in terms of memorizing Quran, because that they say they claim that that's how they're trying to sell it, those AI programs to help memorize Quran. Well, this talqeen. Talqeen is one person read, the other one listen, and then that's what Angel Jibril did to Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam will get it, and then repeat it back to Angel Gabriel exactly the way it sounds. And that is the way that we actually pronounce the letters, with the tajweed, with the tashkil, with all the movements, the I, the O, the E, all these sounds, and how we can perfect it exactly and replicate it exactly the way that the original text of the Quran came and descend on the Prophet Muhammad through Angel Gabriel. And that way of talqeen, or one-on-one kind of going back and forth to make sure that what you've heard, that you process, and now that you repeat it in the correct way. Say Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, and if that's what Angel Gabriel told Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam to do for the introduction in the name of Allah, the most merciful, most beneficial, then that's the same exact way that should be repeated back without any deviation, without any change, without any addition or deletion. Exactly the way that Allah have put forth for us the Quran. It's very, very critical. There's no anyone can play and manipulate the Quran, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have guaranteed full protection of the Quran to the Day of Judgment.
Okay, now another thing that the Quran does say, if you're in doubt about it, then bring a book like it. But there is another verse in the Quran talking about the impossibility to emulate any way, shape, or form. And that's in Surah Baqarah, chapter 2, verse 23. And this is crystal clear. And I'll share that with you right now. Take a look at this and listen to it as well.
وَإِن كُنتُمْ فِي رَيْبٍ مِّمَّا نَزَّلْنَا عَلَىٰ عَبْدِنَا فَأْتُوا بِسُورَةٍ مِّن مِّثْلِهِ وَادْعُوا شُهَدَاءَكُم مِّن دُونِ اللَّهِ إِن كُنتُمْ صَادِقِينَ.
And if you are in doubt about what we have sent down upon our servant Muhammad, then produce a surah, the like thereof, and call upon your witnesses other than Allah, if you should be truthful.
MashaAllah. And so that is saying just bring a chapter like it. A surah is a chapter. And then the smallest chapter in the Quran, the entire Quran, is only 3 short verses. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Inna atainakal kawthar fasalli li rabbika wanhar. Inna shani akahul abatar. And Doctor, I'd like to turn it back over to you, because you're doing a great job of this.
Thank you so much. You're doing a wonderful job. And the whole idea is that we're trying to emphasize and to make it clear for everyone, AI is not going to replicate the Quran. AI is not going to make machines like humans. AI is not going to come close to the eloquence and the beauty and the magnificence of the Holy Quran. AI would have really no significant contribution to the spiritual enrichment or spiritual learning when it comes to Quran. I'm talking in Islam, as it may actually have a deleterious effect on confusion and misunderstanding and misguidance. So I believe we're done so well for 1500 years since the Quran have been revealed to Prophet Muhammad ﷺ through Angel Gabriel, and that's how it's been going on one, even when so and so the selling point is about help memorization. That's not going to cut it. That's not going to sail. Especially for those who really want to, because it's everybody's dream to be able to memorize Quran. That's given. But the way to go around it, like we see, and I'm sure the Sheikh saw in the masjid in Medina, Munawwara, and they have all those halaqas, all those classes that go in like absolutely like incredible energy, where everybody have one-on-one the memorization and the checking of the memorization to make sure it's correct. And during that, you may correct a verb or a noun or a tashkil, the certain movements of that, because it was off from, it was found off when the person is basically training to a rehearsal of what they memorized, just to make sure it's perfect, exactly the way that's mentioned in the original text of the Quran. Very, very important and concepts that's not going to be replaced by AI or not going to be challenged by AI. I believe we have given a very good overview and evidence from the words of Allah regarding AI, and we should be cautioning everyone to keep the same method that Allah have basically allowed and have approved over the 1500 years ago, to continue on without interruption or distraction or corruption of ideas, and basically corruption of belief system. That could also be happened because it's a man-made device or system or algorithm that could be manipulated and could be abused. And we've seen the people who invented AI, they are warning everyone about the dangers of using AI that's going to basically make the world inhabitable, or make the most of the population of the people go away, and so on and so forth. We've seen it on the cover of the Time magazine recently, and we should, as Muslims, as believers, as people in submitting to Allah, after listening to all these verses from the Holy Quran, to have come to conclusive evidence that Allah is the one that we should get help from. Allah is the source of our ability to think and our intelligence, our emotional intelligence, our way of thinking and abstracting and making decisions right and wrong, and halal from haram, and so on and so forth. So that has to stay clean and has to stay clear to be able to function and pass on clear information to others, and not to go into mass confusion when initial message is being confused by a machine or artificial means.
I think that you have nailed it right. The bottom line, to sum it up, everything in the artificial intelligence is a product of human beings, and human beings make mistakes. We are not perfect. All of us, no matter how good the intention is, we can make mistakes. Very easy to make mistakes. So whenever you compile it all together, you will find that there are going to be a lot of mistakes. There are going to be a lot of good information that you can acquire. However, keep in mind there could be mistakes. Don't ever trust it as far as you can throw it, because in the religious connotation especially, It's talking about the one who created everything. And when you get to that point, you find that even in the artificial intelligence, it cannot tell you where everything came from. It can tell you the processes that are applied as it's being generated. But where does it all come from? Where does it start? And obviously, just like the scientists themselves, they can't answer the question truthfully because they don't know. Unless you have really studied religious doctrine and realize what it is telling you, there is no way you could come out with the right answers. The fact is that everything was created by an uncreatable source. Everything was created by an uncreatable source. I repeated that because I wanted you to get it in your mind. Allah, Almighty God, He is not creatable. He has always been there. Always. And He will always be there. Not necessary for His creation to be there because it in no way supports Him. He supports it. He is the creator and the sustainer of everything on the planet, in our solar system, in the Milky Way, and in the entire universe, which we don't even know. At this point, we don't even know how far it reaches or what it contains. So for that, we would like to be sure that you use the discretion that Almighty God gave you when you're coming to these areas of intellectual domination over what Allah has created. Doctor?
Thank you so much. Jazakallah khair. This is beautiful. And to add to that, there is a clear distinction, maybe in the Arabic language that reflects the elements. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, "La tajassasu," do not spy, do not spy on each other. وَلَا يَغْتَبْ بَعْضُكُمْ بَعْضًا, and of course, don't backbite each other and so on. So this is a clear order from Allah: do not spy on each other for information gathering, whatever. Only exception in case of war. That's the only exception to that rule. But on the other side, what is allowed in Surah Yusuf, when his Yusuf's father Jacob was so saddened and he lost his eyesight because of tears and stress after losing his son Yusuf, and he think he was gone and dead after being thrown in the well and so on and so forth. So he said, please, to all his other children, to the Yusuf's brothers, go out and seek your brother. فَتَحَسَّسُوا. Go ahead and look for your brother. That is allowable. But لَا تَجَسَّسُوا, on the other side, it's a clear order from Allah that should not get engaged with spying. And sometimes gather information and to put on all these algorithms and so on and so forth. There may be a lot of ways of doing this activity that Allah has prohibited. And we see now a lot of devices that has listening devices, that has many cameras that record things, although even if you don't want it, could be on your cell phone, could be on your TV set, could be on your camera recorder, could be in any device that you don't even are not aware of. They have all these tiny listening devices and recording devices that does that without you knowing, or without your authorization, and that could be used against people, and of course violating their privacy, violating the comfort of their home, or even in their bedroom. And because of these, the devices now are invading the privacy of so many people. And somebody said, well, it's everywhere, you can't do anything about it. Even the phone, when it's turned off, still recording, still listening, still having the audio on, and the recording on, video wise, even if it's turned off. So yes, it is a different world altogether. Yes, it's a different challenges, but remember, that's always beautiful thing to go back to the Quran, to get out of this madness, and to have the peace and tranquility with the words of Allah, to have the cure with the words of Allah, and to go back to the source of knowledge. And once we know that, there's going to be so much calmness, so much tranquility, so much at peace, when we know that when you follow the guidance of the Creator, that is the only way to success in this life and the life after. And I know there's a few minutes left, but the 1-800 number's been there all the time, 1-800-971-4383. I think the topic is definitely rich and got a lot of information, and we certainly cannot cover it in one or two sessions, but hopefully we'll be able to try to answer as much as possible your questions and inquiries. But we give you the summary of what needs to be known and the summary of what needs to be done. And that hopefully puts everyone, regardless of who's watching or listening, on the right track, and avoid them from getting into being misguided and fall into wrong things that they don't even intend in the first place.
Yes, and I think that this is a good chance for us to go back to the Quran and see what it says for the result of those who endeavor to go ahead and try to do it. If you try to do it, listen to what Allah says in the Quran about that. It's very serious. Here it is in Surah Baqarah.
وَإِن كُنتُمْ فِي رَيْبٍ مِّمَّا نَزَّلْنَا عَلَى عَبْدِنَا فَأْتُوا بِسُورَةٍ مِّن مِّثْلِهِ وَادْعُوا شُهَدَاءَكُم مِّن دُونِ اللَّهِ إِن كُنتُمْ صَادِقِينَ.
And if you are in doubt about what we have sent down upon our servant Muhammad, then produce a surah, the like thereof, and call upon your witnesses other than Allah, if you should be truthful.
وَإِن كُنتُمْ فِي رَيْبٍ
فَإِن.
But if you do not, and you will never be able to, then fear the fire, whose fuel is men and stones, prepared for the disbelievers.
I think that sums it up real good. If you try to do that and you will not succeed at it, then beware, because get ready. So this is maybe one of the things that the people saw, that this would, the ones that quit and walked out. How many people did you hear about this, quitting their jobs over that?
Every day I'm hearing a lot of different things. That's why I felt.
Okay. Anyway, so let's wrap it up, and we had the signal from our studios, so we got to wrap it up. Everybody stay tuned and stay guided with
Guidance TV.
The Quran in English translation. Yeah. And you can order that on our website, afreequran.com. We paid the shipping, we paid for the book, and everybody can read and enjoy the translation of the Quran. Yeah. And by the way, it's 2 columns on every page, which means it's easier to read because you don't get lost when you come back to the next line. Anyway, if anyone would like to join us as